The time is 5:32 p.m. It is Tuesday, May the 3rd, and I'm going to call this special City Council meeting to order. Would the City Secretary please call the roll?
Mitchell.
Here.
Rizzo. Ellison. Flores-Kale.
Here.
Bradshaw.
Here.
Parsley.
Here.
Tobias.
Here.
All right, we have 5 members present. We have a quorum, 4 members. 5 members present, we have a quorum. Next up, citizen comments period. At this time, we ask anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward and speak to please do so. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes and that you direct those comments to mayor and council. We also ask that you fill out a citizen comments form and submit that to either myself or the city secretary. I have one registered to come forward, Mr. Randy Pilifant.
No.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I've come to talk to you a few minutes about the concerns that I have for the tunnel. The tunnel is an all-encompassing project that includes the beginning of the tunnel, the end of the tunnel, the trail, and the tunnel itself in between. I was hoping to have a conversation with the question and answer period, but unfortunately, my understanding that I can only bring to you my concerns at this point. So my concerns are we're moving too fast. There is a lot of things that I think the city can do prior to entering into a $50,000 contract with multiple people to check into what we can do. My first question is obviously rhetoric, is that have we talked to the railroad directly? Do we know what the engineering is of the railroad, the bed, the sub-bed? We can make a lot of decisions real quick when we know what the railroad has there. They've got plans as-built that you can look at, you can request, that you don't have to pay $50,000 for it. They'll have all of the geotechnical information that you're going to need, because I can guarantee you in the 50 years, that land hasn't moved hardly at all, or 60 or 70 or 10,000 years.
What the hell does that have to do with anything?
My second question is the
you know the thing.
situation with the developer. It seems to me that this project has moved so fast that there must be a memorandum of understanding that we would do this for them, that we would be involved in a tunnel project or a crossover project or a trail project of this magnitude. Seems kind of quick that we're moving into that type of situation. I don't see the benefit to the entire city.
Son of a bitch.
There's no benefit to the entire city on this. It's coming to take Plum Creek residents, which I am one of, just so you know, give them the ability to get to the shopping center. They can already get to the shopping center, and people can already move around Kyle from that area. As I looked at the map for the city trails, we have 2 other areas that are part of the what I'm going to call the city issues that you're going to handle as a city council for this trail project. That happens to be up at Kohler Crossing, and it happens to be down at exit 213 where we're going to cross I-35. My understanding at this point that there's been nothing done about those 2, and yet there are also discussions that those are going to be grade level crossings. Why do we need a tunnel? I guess my time's up.
Thank you very much.
That's just the beginning. You have some questions in front of you. I probably will be getting with most of you to get some answers. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward and speak? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close citizen comments. Citizen comments is now closed. Next up, executive session.
All right. Pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code, the City Council reserves the right to convene into executive sessions from time to time as deemed necessary during this meeting. The City Council may convene into executive session pursuant to any lawful exception contained in Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, including any or all of the following topics. Number one, pending or complicated litigation, or to seek the advice of the city attorney pursuant to Section 551071. Communication protocol with the city attorney and city manager. Kyle Housing Authority, 1119 North Old Highway 81. Kyle Pie in the Sky. Number two, possible purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate pursuant to Section 551072. Number three, personal matters pursuant to Section 551074. Before convening into executive session pursuant to the section of 551087, the Texas Government Code, to deliberate regarding the offer of economic incentives to one or more of the business prospects that the city seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the city. Project Fire Engine Red. We are now in executive session.
Meeting back to order. There was no action taken during executive session. There will be no action taken now. Motion to adjourn. Okay, we are adjourned. We'll wait 60 seconds for the tapes to roll over, and then we'll get started with our regular meeting. The time is 7:06 p.m. It's Tuesday, May the 3rd, and I'm going to call this regularly scheduled City Council meeting to order. Would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the City Secretary please call the roll?
Mitchell,
Here.
Rizzo,
Present.
Ellison,
Present.
Flores-Kill. Here. Bradshaw. Here. Parsley.
Present.
Tobias.
Here.
All right, all members present. We have a quorum. Next up, approval of the minutes.
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes for April 5th, 2022, regular meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Tobias, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Rizzo, that we approve the minutes for April 5th. Is there discussion on the motion?
Yes, I have a question.
Councilmember Flores-Kill.
Thank you. So I was looking at the agenda, going back to see how there was a vote taken, and I noticed this was from the 5th, and I guess I'm just kind of confused as to why the 5th was broken up on two councils' approval minutes. One was last meeting for the special meeting, and then this meeting was for the regular meeting. So I guess I'm wondering when the 19th, when does that get processed?
Jennifer Holmes, City Secretary for the record. My department of 2 has been reduced to a department of 1, and I'm trying to bring y'all the minutes in order so that we don't, for example, even if the April 19th minutes were ready already, I didn't want to bring those ahead of the regular minutes prior to that. And so I'm just going in order as soon as I can get them done.
Okay, all right, I just want to know. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Next up, citizen comments period. At this time, we ask anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward and speak on any item to please do so. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes and that you direct those comments to the mayor and council. We also ask that you fill out a citizen comments form and submit that to either myself or the city secretary. I have a few folks already registered to speak. First up, Chap Ambrose.
Thank you so much, Council. I appreciate your time, Mayor. I do know this is streamed to YouTube, so I just wanted to say, let's get some like and subscribes, hit that bell button. The City of Kyle, it's important to know what's going on here, and I would love to see that. My name is Chap Ambrose, and I can tell you with some confidence that I have more experience negotiating with the Boring Company than anyone else in this room.
You would test a god.
1 year ago, they purchased my neighbor's property, and they turned that into their headquarters. And I've been working with them as their neighbor, and I'm sure it's a familiar tune to hear that they made promises about light pollution, noise, truck traffic, fiber internet, but 1 year later, they've delivered on none of those promises.
Oh, come on.
And I respect Texas landowner laws, and the reality is they don't have to do any of those things for us. What they do have to do is follow the law. And unfortunately, they have not been doing that. And if you look into the history of the company, and if you just look into the history of the last year in Bastrop, there is a pattern of them building without proper permits and approval. When the agency that governs that gets involved, they try to bully for exceptions and for cuts in the line. So I encourage you to talk to your Bastrop County counterparts as you're dealing with this company. I want to give you two quick examples. We went to Commissioner's Court February 28th. They had a proposal there that was not approved because of an illegal septic system. They built 6 manufactured homes for their employees, moved in those families, and did not have a proper system. TxDOT 4 weeks ago, there was an email from TxDOT after a year of them not having a legal permit access off of FM 1209 from a TxDOT engineer. Again, with this decision to construct this driveway with no permit or approval at the location chosen, all liability is on the boring company at this point in time. I would encourage you to work with the AO on an engineering solution to mitigate this safety issue as soon as possible.
Of course.
Unfortunately, 20 days after that email, there was an accident involving a boring company employee and a Bastrop citizen. And so people are getting hurt now. And y'all have a responsibility. The world's richest man is here. The companies are following. And I'm asking you that we uphold citizens' rights and just take care of our neighbors. I don't think it's that hard. I think he's got the resources to do it. Unfortunately, they have not made it a priority. And I hope they do that. I wish them the best. They are my neighbor, and so I got a lot of love for them. But I'm not going to let them do this the wrong way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very nice.
All right, next up, Jay Coulterman.
Hello, thank you. I'm here because I live in the Stagecoach Crossing neighborhood, and we have an issue of people using our neighborhood to cut through from old Stagecoach Road to Scott Street and vice versa. And it's become a problem to where, there's more traffic than there should be. They're driving at a high rate of speed. Our neighborhood park is on this road that they're cutting through. So, and there's kids, they're kids all over the place. They're playing, the playground is right there. And so Councilmember Flores Kale brought this issue up, put it on the agenda, and we're hoping that you guys can come up with something or direct your staff to come up with something to where we have a permanent solution beyond just having a squad car or something like that sitting there. It's sort of a Band-Aid. It works for a day or two, but whether that's stop signs or whatever the best course of action could be to kind of curb this traffic that's going through our neighborhood. If you look at a map, you can clearly see our neighborhood's just kind of wedged in between there. And so when the option is driving up to Center Street with the stop signs and the traffic and the school zones and all that stuff, or just cutting through our little neighborhood, it's an easy decision for people to make. So that's my concern. And just one more thing, I saw the master transportation plan that, at least for now, it looks like those two roads, Old Stagecoach and Scott Street, are going to be turned into 4-lane roads. And so I hope you would really just consider our neighborhood when you make those plans, because as the traffic increases, the land that's empty around us is undeveloped now. It will become developed. It's a problem that's going to get worse. And so I'm really worried, and a lot of our residents are worried. We have a Facebook page where people were sounding off about it and joking. Our neighborhood road's Conestoga. That's the main road through there. They're joking Conestoga Highway. Anything y'all could do to take some action to mitigate that would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Golem Kibria?
Hello. Hi, my name is Golem Kibria. I'm a geotechnical engineer. I'm going to be the geotechnical engineer for the Kyle pedestrian tunnel project. So I can talk about the soil. If it is built with proper permits and with the acknowledgement of all the body involved, I think it's going to be a very good project. We are going to be drilling geotechnical boring to see what's there soil-wise. We expect to get Austin Chalk Formation, which is considered as soft rock from tunneling perspective. So very good condition for tunneling, self-supported, and good condition for the tunneling in regards to the potential for caving and sloughing that may happen during tunneling projects. From a technical perspective, I think transportation is going to provide a multimodal system for transportation. It's going to provide flexibility for the pedestrian to cross through the rail crossing. So as I said, I think it's going to be a good project, and we are very excited to be teaming and working on the project. Thank you.
Next up, Shasta Bell Osborne.
Hello, good evening. I am actually addressing y'all about the Boring Company project as in favor for it. I am a 6-year-long Kyle resident now, as well as a landowner and a local business owner. I'm a 7th generation Austinite though, so my family's been here a long time. We all are wanting the best for the area. We are in favor of the company. My husband actually works for the Boring Company, so there has been a lot of excitement with being a local resident. We are excited, what that can bring for the city, as well as bringing our name and just, the innovative. So I'm just in, favor of it, and I have full faith that the Boring Company will adhere to any concerns that were being addressed earlier, and I think it would bring a lot of good things for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Andrew Crawford.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name's Andrew Crawford. I'm the HR manager for Texas for the Boring Company. And I also live just down the road. My father-in-law lives here, so my kids and he will most likely use this tunnel quite often because they'll be very close to it. To me, it's very simple. It comes down to this. This is a Texas-built tunnel boring machine. When's the last time you could say something like that? A Texas-built tunnel boring machine digging a Texas tunnel with no new taxes added. I think this is a great project. I think this puts you guys at the forefront of innovation for an innovative company, and I am fully in support of it. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I have one final. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward and speak on any item? All right, last up, James Earp. Seven to 0. All right, next up, agenda item number 13, approve a professional services agreement by and between the Boring Company and the City of Kyle. I think multiple people wanted to request, so Mr. Sellers, if you want to just present on it.
Sure. Mayor, Council, Scott Sellers for the record. So the item in front of you tonight is to approve a professional services agreement with the Boring Company. In the proposal that the council received a month ago when the Boring Company was selected to be the firm to move forward with a design build contract, the exhibit outlines several items that are contained within this professional services agreement, and then what the scope of work is going to be for the project. So this is really the first agreement with the Boring Company, and then following this agreement will be the design build agreement. So there's multiple steps. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the vibe. I know there's been some discussion about this already tonight, and also some inquiries from the community. So this is not a project that has just occurred overnight. This is something that has been worked on for several years with the developer of the Kyle Crossing development. The project took on the form of what we call TOD, which is Trail-Oriented Development, meaning the entire project with the vertical mixed-use facilities as well as the restaurant and the central square is being built to really accentuate the citizen trail system that is being designed right now by Schomburg and Polk. The Vibe Trail network is roughly 80 miles and is designed to bring residents from every neighborhood in the city into our commercial areas, our public areas, our parks, etc. So everyone in the city, Kyle, will have access to this large trail network and to the associated amenities. One of the reasons for the tunnel, we did look at this first for a bridge. In fact, our first inquiry was to TxDOT for a sidewalk on the 1626 overpass. And unfortunately, TxDOT denied our request, so that was not a safe crossing for pedestrians.
Oh, come on.
So we then began looking at it with our engineer firm, whether or not we could do an overpass, a pedestrian overpass over the railroad, similar to what other cities have done over the railroad or major roadways. In this case, there are multiple electrical lines, poles, and a very high voltage, I believe it's 138 kV high voltage electrical line directly adjacent to the railroad tracks, which made building a bridge infeasible for this area. We then considered other options. Going around to the nearest at-grade crossing would add miles to the Vibe Trail through here. Also, we've heard for quite some time the residents on Cromwell looking for a safe crossing of the railroad to get to the commercial areas. Many of those residents are limited in their mode of transportation. So a tunnel was discussed, entertained, and then we went out to RFP to see if there was interest from tunneling companies, at which point, again, we brought back the boring company proposal to the council. There was a question about working with Union Pacific. We have made Union Pacific aware of this. We did not want to leave them out of the planning of this project. The professional services agreement does start the actual permitting with Union Pacific, although we have had preliminary discussions with them. And there is some concern, as a railroad should always have concern about anyone within their right-of-way and what a tunnel project might look like and how it could disturb the tracks. And as part of the geotech, as again part of the work that is in this professional services agreement, geotech will be performed, telemetry will be installed on the tracks themselves, and a proposal will be presented to Union Pacific, which will hopefully satisfy them that their tracks will not be disturbed. As was mentioned earlier in the public comment, this section is in what's called the Austin Chalk, which is a great substrate and great for tunneling, and we believe there will be minimal or no disruption at all to the surface development.
Oh boy, we're gonna have a swell time.
The funding for this project comes out of a development agreement with the developer. It's a $3 million set aside, again, of private development dollars. So no taxpayer dollars are anticipated to be expended on this tunnel project. The developer is planning to front the $50,000 for the professional services agreement. At the next council meeting, we will also have a reimbursement agreement with Union Pacific Railroad, and that dollar amount will be $75,000, which is a drawdown account that Union Pacific requires for all projects. We have that same account with our rail siding relocation project. So that will also be pre-funded from that $3 million. And then finally, the tunnel itself, as we have discussed in the past, will be 12 foot in diameter. Where the path goes through will be 10 feet. The tunnel will be very well lit, and we plan to have cameras in there for safety also. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and also we do have representatives here from the Boring Company.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sellers. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask? Councilmember Parsley.
So you just answered my two questions. One was who's paying for the $50,000. Second, safety, because I was concerned having a tunnel, all kinds of stuff can happen in there. I don't know. So just who's gonna be monitoring those cameras, though? Will it be the city? Is it gonna be the police department? Like, who's gonna be taking care of that?
We haven't had that conversation, but most likely, as with our other projects that we're working on right now, where we're installing cameras in our park system, that will come back to a central feed, which will be monitored by dispatch.
Okay, and so I know there are residents that have concerns, and this is just gonna be to bring up the design, correct? And the studies that are gonna be done, obviously to see, what we're gonna find in there, and if it's gonna be something doable.
Correct.
The next question I had, since it's in the Vibe Trail, are golf carts gonna be allowed in there? Because I don't know how that's gonna fit with residents walking.
The Vibe Trail is...
Since it's smaller, it's a 10.
Yeah, it's 10 instead of 12. We did 12 for safety also, in case carts would drive off the side or people would, be off the side of the path. Typical golf cart is 3.5 to 4 feet max, so there is still plenty of room, even if two golf carts are in there. We do plan to stripe the center line of the Vibe through the tunnel also, just to help delineate, the path east and west. So definitely safety is a primary concern.
Those were my two questions. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Councilmember Florescap.
Thank you. So where is this $3 million from? Is it like in an account?
The $3 million from the developer will be from a bond issue that the developer has for the project. However, they have agreed to front money for the preliminary agreement as well as the reimbursement agreement, which will be recouped when the bond is issued.
Who pays for that bond?
That's the developer.
The
It's
developer?
part of their construction.
Okay, so how long will it take if everything goes well and they say, yes, we're going to build it? How long will it take to build that tunnel?
I believe the machine is a very quick mover, so the goal is to do it within a couple months of actual construction.
Okay, well, if it gets built in a couple of months, where will it lead?
So the parameters of the trail are from that Kyle Crossing development, which is on the southwest corner of Marketplace in 1626, and then the terminus will be at the cul-de-sac in Plum Creek at the very, eastern edge of Cromwell Drive.
Okay, so how will that benefit High Road?
High Road?
Or 150 East?
It won't.
So there's no benefit to any of my residents, really. Okay, so then it says there was supposed to be some funding from the county. What is the status on that?
I'm not sure the question.
No? Okay, so, okay.
Well, this is insane.
I think I just have maybe one more question. Nope, I think that's it. All right, thank you.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Mayor.
Sorry,
There's a motion.
There's a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Is there a second? It's moved by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw, that we approve agenda item number 13. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilmember Tobias.
Okay. Yes, I've got some as well. So right off the bat, Mr. Sellers, you're saying that the complete funding, the 50,000, is going to come straight from the developer, not from the city.
We don't have the money in hand yet, but that is the agreement.
Okay. And in a couple of weeks or months when this thing's going to be built, we're not going to have any change orders to where we have to take up any of that cost?
So this preliminary agreement will provide a cost. Right now, we're not sure what the total cost is, but we have what's called a engineer opinion of probable cost of roughly 2 million, 2.1 million, somewhere in there. So this first preliminary agreement will allow the boring company to go in and see, if there's anything that's abnormal, in the subsurface, and then they'll come back with a design build agreement.
Okay. A couple more, Mayor. Issues that I've come up with is, as you can tell, it's pretty flat land. It's by a train track. So number one, safety concerns are flooding. If there's an event that this floods out and there's people going in and out and it starts raining, what's the safety measures on that? Because again, it's an underground tunnel underneath the track.
Are you crazy?
And the other thing was the safety concerns above the track. How pedestrians sometimes eventually crawl up spaces and try to go over the tunnel and so forth. And I think what maybe Ms. Flores-Kell was trying to get at is the benefit for, again, people from the east of Kyle. From what I've had a long discussion with a resident, again, is this is benefiting a specific part of town once again. That's what they're looking at. You're getting to the people of Plum Creek, the people of the uptown area, the people in the hometown, and again, the people from east of Kyle, again, are beginning to feel left out when we're doing these projects. And so I'm just being the voice of the residents that I deal with on this end. So, but as far as me, the concerns I have is the safety concerns is people eventually find a way to get out from the tunnel, and I could just see a serious incident to where somebody's trying to cross the track from above, especially if we have a lot of large crowds going back and forth. And of course, the flooding. And again, the finances, yes, it looks like the developer's going to pay their share up front, but I just have a feeling that there's going to be something later on that the city's going to have to come up with on this. So that's where I stand on it. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Do you want me to
Councilor
address-
Ellison.
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly, I appreciate the history and getting to the point. I think that Mr. Sellers, you answered a lot of the questions that I've seen. Mr. Pillipant that came up earlier and spoke at the 5:30 meeting. I think you addressed, I'm looking through his questions for the most part. I think you addressed the questions that were relative to the tunnel in this agenda item. I'm just reviewing to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I think the key part here is certainly that the tunnel is being funded by the development and even this preliminary study. I know you answered that it doesn't benefit the east side. Full disclosure, I've lived on the east side the entire time I've lived in Kyle, and happy to always be there for the residents of not only that part of the city, but the entire city that I represent. And I would say that it does benefit, because the idea with this whole Vibe network is to get people across our city, no matter where you are, to all kinds of different places, would have having an automobile. And so you can get from an east subdivision in Kyle and get all the way to Heroes Memorial without having to get into a vehicle because of this tunnel. So it benefits it. And then the great thing is the city's not paying for this. It's the developer. So I could certainly understand the argument if the city was using $3 million of taxpayer funds to build a tunnel. It still is a stretch to even, I get that. But this is a development funded project. The reason why it's happening now, the only other question that I feel like Mr. Pillipant brought up is why now, why the rush? Well, it's just because this development is happening now. And so they're taking care of that part to that connectivity. that we're trying to promote throughout our entirety of our city, which is all about equity. And this is something that, I'm at an APA conference right now, and we're talking about equitable modes of transportation, getting people to different places, and being cognizant of people of all different scales within your community. And I've been talking about this project, and all of them are just blown away by it. And so I think this is a part of connecting all of it. If this was just so happened to be a railroad crossing on the east side, in order for us to get through to accomplish this connectivity that we're trying to do with this multi-use path system, I'd be all for it, even though it doesn't really directly benefit the residents of the west side of town. But I would say the same thing. It would allow them to get all the way to Lake Kyle or wherever it is that they're trying to get over there. So I think that's the kind of the important thing to remember. Certainly I appreciate the aspect of that there were a number of different avenues looked at, alternatives, all different types of ways, but they just weren't feasible for one reason or the another. And so I really like, I was talking to a resident about it, and I said, I would be sad regardless of wherever this was, because any part of our city that we're not connecting this entire network together, that would be a sad thing in my opinion, because we're not doing an equitable service to everybody by not making the connectivity. And it just so happens that this one's in the place that it is because of that railroad track. If it were on the east side, it'd be the same thing and the same mindset for me, at least. So I certainly appreciate once again, this has been in the works for a while now on this development. I was really glad to get this secured, this $3 million secured through the agreements and the negotiations. And for me, those are all things that make a great impact on this project. I'm really happy to hear the measures talked about security, because I certainly, and the residents that I've talked about, that is one that has been highlighted, and I can certainly agree with them on that. And so with these efforts in place and these processes that we'll have in place when the tunnel is built, I think will be great. And certainly, people are going to maybe do some nefarious things, but right now they're crossing over the railroad right now, and it's dangerous. And so that's not the good thing. So I can't imagine that when you put a safer crossing, that people are going to continue to use the dangerous route that is already existing right now. But I certainly appreciate the explanation and the time on this. And I think that, it certainly is an innovative project, and I'm really thrilled that the developer's paying for it.
Any other discussion? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just really quick, Scott, going over the Vibe Trail. Right now, our trail system starts off at Waterleaf Park and goes all the way to Lake Kyle, goes down to Steeplechase Park. From Steeplechase Park, there's plans in the work to connect that to the project that'll be happening off of Button Creek, not Button Creek, what is the road right there? The Barton Project, what is that? Street right there? Can't think of it.
Marketplace or Burleson?
Burleson, sorry, Burleson. So it's going to connect that to Burleson. From Burleson, we'll go to this trail, correct?
Correct.
And then to Heroes Memorial. So in essence, you'll be able to go from Waterleaf Park all the way to the Heroes Memorial Park, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And for me, it was when we brought forward the project on Burleson, I was a little worried about people in Steeplechase being left out of that, and having that connectivity from Steeplechase to Burleson is something, the reason why I'm in favor now of that sports facility there that's coming out, the outdoor sports facility workout specific. So it's something that I'm looking forward. But yeah, connectivity is important and getting people off the roadway. So thank you for.
And I'll just add the city has already begun the design of the trail from Cool Springs down to Waterleaf and then to basically the interstate. So there's $2 million of city money for that project, and then $2 million of county money for that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Floresco.
Thank you. This will be my last question. So there's $3 million set aside. In the event, well, first of all, do we have an estimate on how much that's going to cost?
So the preliminary estimate's right around 2.1 million for the tunnel.
And have they done any kind of digging or any research?
That's this $50,000 agreement.
So is there a situation where this could happen to cost 4 million?
Yeah, definitely. There is
So
one.
if it costs 4 million, does that, and I know it'll come back for a vote, but then we're kind of a little bit more obligated at that point. So yeah, I guess just that's my question is, without having it, a defined amount, it makes me nervous to say yes. But so ultimately, what we're just voting on is a 50,000.
Correct.
And then it'll come back if there is, because I think you said there's going to be another agreement.
The next council meeting will be an agreement with Union Pacific Railroad for a reimbursement agreement for this project.
Okay. Okay, so we do have another opportunity to vote no if it's more than the $3 million. Like, will we have an opportunity to?
Yes, ma'am. We'll bring back a design build contract, and that will have what we hope to have, which is a guaranteed maximum price, which then the contractor would be obligated to stay at or under that dollar amount. And if that is over $3 million, the council can halt the project.
I totally understand that, but I think we kind of get in over our heads sometimes, like with the Heroes Memorial that did not start off as an $8 or $9 million project. And then the deeper we go into it, the more we're committed, and then the more we end up spending. And so that's always a concern for me. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Just one last thing. If we can make sure that during the design project where they can make sure that they design it to where pedestrians are not going over the track and so forth, over the tunnel on that end.
Yeah, currently there's a fence.
Okay.
But it's a rock fence because in between where the tunnel entry would be and the actual right-of-way for the tracks is a large detention pond. So there's already a fence for the detention pond. The railroad, through the permitting process, will ensure that that area is secured. But I also want to hit the earlier comment you made about storm events. We hope people don't go into any crossing, underground crossing, because we'll have multiple areas of the vibe that are culvert crossings as well. We just hope people have common sense. But even with that, a tunnel that's 900 linear feet will have a sump in it, and so the water will collect to one central area and be pumped out.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, anyone else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1.